Hey guys, it's Jim. Thanks for tuning in. This is episode 7 of my Luminar 2018 tutorial series. I'm actually going to do more than 10, I think. I've been trying to sketch them out, and in the beginning I said, not sure how many I'm going to do. I'm going to try to do 10 or whatever, but I've been looking at my notes and all the different things I want to talk about. I got a good 12 or so, I think, so keep tuning in, and I'm going to try to get one of these every couple of days. We'll just see how that pace goes and if I can keep it up. But this is episode 7, so thanks for coming back. If you haven't yet, hit the subscribe button and keep tuning in. This one is about the raw develop filter, and it's new in Luminar 2018. And truthfully, I probably should have done this several videos ago. It's an incredibly powerful filter. It's really great to sort of know your way around it, and that's what we're going to do. So let's go. Okay, so I'm going to just close layer. No, I'm not. I'm going to leave layers open. I'm going to close histogram. I'm going to add filter, and I'm going to get raw develop, and I'm going to close the filter catalog. Now, if you have a raw file, it'll say raw develop. If you don't have a raw file, it's going to say develop. So JPEG, TIFF, any of that, it's going to say develop. Otherwise, it's going to say a raw develop if it is a raw file. So it'll just, have a little bit different name. However, it's in the same place. It's still going to be right. Oh, you know what? You can only grab it once. That's something else to be aware of. It doesn't let you go back and get it another time. You can only use it on the base layer, and you can only use it once. So unlike structure, I could use it on multiple layers, or saturation and vibrance, I could stack it time and time again. Develop or raw develop, you get one shot at it, my friends. Uno. So, let's just talk about this thing. Okay, so there's the Adjust tab, and we're going to come back to that, and it's incredibly important, but I'm going to talk about the Lens tab first. So this is a Lens Correction tab. So basically, you've got multiple sliders, as you can see. There's distortion. So sometimes if you shoot with a wide-angle lens, it kind of looks like the photo is bulging out kind of in the center, and that's called barrel distortion. Sometimes with like a telephoto or whatever, it might look like it's kind of pushing inward like it's called pincushion distortion, kind of like a pin is pushed into a fabric, and you know how it sort of sticks in the center. Anyway, that's pincushion distortion. You can correct those. So if that's what barrel distortion looks like in the extreme, and so you just slide that way to fix it. And that's what pincushion distortion looks like in the extreme, and you just go that way to fix it. So obviously it'll start at 0. And as you can see, when you hover over the slider, it gives you this grid, because really what Lens and Transform are all about is sort of straightening up vertical lines. Lightroom has a guided upright. We don't have that in Luminar yet. Who knows? We might get it in the future, but it ain't here today. So we're going to use what's on the cart, right? So this is really cool. I would probably go a little bit to the right. I got to look at my notes. 4 or 5 or 6. How about that? So it's not a big adjustment. That's okay. You also have chromatic aberration. So sometimes you'll get what people call it fringing. There's different words for it, but sometimes like when you zoom in on edges, when there's high contrast, whoa, why don't I really zoom in there? You might see some purple fringing or other color fringing there, and that's basically what that would fix. And so you can see the colors here. You can slide them to sort of make adjustments. I don't have any in this photo, so it's kind of hard to demonstrate, but you've probably seen it. A lot of times, like leaves in a tree against a bright blue sky, you'll see some fringing. So you can work with these sliders to fix that. And sometimes certain lenses will cause vignetting. So just like a vignette, it's dark around the edges. Lenses may do that. And so devignetting, as you can imagine, is going to help you take that away. So as you can see, as I drag this, it's just going to lighten the edges. So if they're dark because of the lens, you can use devignetting to lighten them. That's what that's for. So I made a minor adjustment on distortion. Now I'm going to go to transform. So this is really powerful. And the reason I'm on this these two tabs, not just because they're important in the raw develop filter, but because they help you straighten these vertical lines. So if you look at this photo, the first thing I notice is this building over here is really leaning in, and the doorway here is really leaning in as well. And this is happens a lot when you shoot with a wide angle lens. This was shot at, well, let's look, I think 25 millimeters. So not real wide, but with a wide angle lens, medium wide. Bottom line, I got some distortion. I need to fix it. This is how you do it. So you have all these different sliders here. Don't let them confuse you or scare you or intimidate you. They're just sliders. Move them around, see what happens. Vertical, right? You basically are rotating this thing. I use it to go, I'm going to go about -11. And now you're going to say, yeah, but the ristorante, this is a street in Italy, the ristorante sign, Jim, is off the frame. It's okay. We're going to fix that too. Horizontal just does the opposite of vertical, right? So it flips it around that way. I don't need to do that. Here's a cool thing. One of the very basic things you want to do when you fix your photo, and by the way, I recommend if you're going to use any of these major kind of corrections, well, you have to do them first with raw develop, but I guess what I was going to say was I recommend doing raw develop kind of first anyway. Like I have my workspaces that I talk about, light, detail, and color, but I think it's also very important to use raw develop first and then stack those workspaces above that, if you will. So one of the major first things you want to do to correct a photo is to correct the horizon line if it's crooked. So that's where rotate comes in. You can basically straighten a photo right here without having to go to the crop tool. Now the photo's straight, so I got lucky because I'm usually crooked, but that's pretty cool. So that's what rotate will do. Aspect ratio, as the name implies, is going to change the aspect ratio. So if I go to the right, squinches it. If I go to the left, it stretches it out. And I'm going to stretch it out a little bit, kind of widen the look of this image. I think about like that. I can't decide. Let's see. Okay, how about there? Scale. You can basically just scale away or scale, backwards or forwards, for lack of a better word. I am going to go pretty good. I'm going to go about 40, I think, something like that. It's basically zooming or pulling the photo closer, so it's dragging everything up. In this case, I used it, let me show you where I was before. I used it to sort of fill some of these gray spaces on the edge of the image because those occurred because I was doing the other things with the vertical tilt. And it's not replacing empty space with made up pixels. It's just saying, hey, I got nothing. You got to take care of that. And we're gonna. So let me go back to scaling this to about 40, and there's 40. Okay, and now you got X offset and Y offset. And these are super cool. I say that a lot, but they are cool. They basically, let me just show you. You can slide the photo left to right along the X axis. That's what the X offset does. And the Y offset is gonna slide it up or down along the Y axis. So for the X, I'm going to go about 5 or 6. Whoa. Okay, so there's 6. And for Y offset, I need to pull it down. So I need to go this way. And so you can see that I'm making a much better sort of impact on the photo. Now, still got a little bit of gray there, a tiny bit of gray on the bottom, and a tiny bit on the top. That's okay because the next thing I'm going to do is I'm done with all this. I'm going to click on the Adjust tab, but I'm going to go to Crop. So let me go ahead and go to the Tools menu. Go to crop, and I'm going to check 3:2 because I shoot with a Sony full frame camera and it's in the 3:2 aspect ratio. And all I'm doing is just kind of getting this lined up. And if you aren't familiar with the crop tool, it was in my tutorial day before, whenever it was, the last one, episode 6, where I talk about this tools menu, which is these 4 things. So that's that. Okay, so I have done lens correction, fixing distortion, and I've done transform to straighten up all the verticals. And look, I mean, I got straighter lines. Let me show you the before and the after, right? I mean, it's a massive change. Before, leaning buildings, crooked doorway, after. So that's a beautiful thing. Now, you're on the Adjust tab. And so I recommend doing lens and transform first because to me, I want to fix all the distracting visual screw-ups, right? All the verticals being not completely vertical. I want to fix all that before I want to go do the basic edits and then get into the fun. So that's why I do lens and transform first. Okay, I'm talking a lot. Here we go. So white balance. If you have a raw file, you have all these options here. So you can just come through, and now they're going to look terrible, right? But you can come through and pick these different things. That doesn't look so bad. Or you can leave it as shot. If you're shooting with something other than a raw file, it's just going to say as shot. You also have the eyedropper here that allows you to pick a target neutral. As you can see, if I pick that as a target neutral, it'll adjust the white balance based on that. If I choose that as a target neutral, it adjusts that. If I pick the blue as a target neutral, it just looks crazy, right? So I'm going to go and pick maybe one of these stones. Nope, not that. I don't know what I'm picking. Let me go back to one of these. I'm going to say that's a target neutral. Still a little too yellow, but that's okay. And by the way, did you notice these numbers? Let me do that again. See how the numbers are changing? Because the temperature and tint, that is the white balance. And so as I'm moving around and picking different target neutrals, these temperature and tint sliders are moving to adjust for what I'm telling it is target neutral with the eyedropper. However, I'm not going to use that method. I like sliders, to be honest. So I'm going to do something like that and something like that. And that's because I wanted to create a little bit more of a twilight look in the photo. Maybe I'm old school. I don't use the eyedropper. It's really cool, but I just prefer to slide it until I get it the way I want it to look. And to me, with the eyedropper, I don't really care what the target neutral is, or because like I might pick what actually is target neutral, but it's going to set the white balance not to my liking, I guess. So that's why I use the sliders. Okay, I'm going to do a little contrast. Let's do something like that. I'm going to lift the shadows a tiny bit. I'm going to drop the highlights. I'm going to add a little clarity. And let me show you where we came from. There's the before, there's the after. So I like where we are, and that's the basics of the raw develop filter, also known as the develop filter if you don't have a raw file. And that kind of covers that. Now, I'm not done with the photo. I would go do some more stuff. I'm going to get a couple of more filters here. Let me get structure and tone. I'm going to get HSL because I want to do a little something. I'm going to get saturation and vibrance. And then I'm going to get cross-processing. You ever use cross-processing? I can't hear you. What? I like it. It's really cool. It's different, but you got to get used to it. So structure, I'm just going to move this to like 20-something. And basically, it just adds a lot more crunchiness to the scene. And I like that in the street. I don't like it in the sky. You can see the sky got a little noisier. So filter mask, grab the brush, and instead of painting it into the photo, I'm just going to erase it from the sky. It's much quicker because it's a smaller area. And I've just erased structure from the sky. There's my mask. It covers the photo except for where I erased it from. I'm happy. I'm done. Structure's done. Tone. If you're not using tone, you are absolutely missing out. I had an email exchange with somebody the other day that was working on the exposure slider and having problems. And my opinion is don't use the exposure slider because it has one slider. It has exposure. You got exposure, you got contrast, you got all this other cool stuff. So let me stick a little more contrast on here. Then I'm going to use a little smart tone, which helps to brighten the stuff that just got dark when I added contrast. So it's really kind of powerful. Not really, it is really powerful. I'm going to drop the highlights a little bit. I kind of like where we're going. HSL, the reason I brought this up is because I want to go into luminance of the blue and I want to drop that. And look at the sky, right? So I wanted to create a darker looking sky. Let me show you, right? It's blue and it's pretty bright. So I added HSL, went into luminance, which is the exposure or how bright something is, excuse me. And I took the blue down. So I went from a bright sky to a darker sky. Now it affected the blue here and the blue there. To me, it doesn't bother me on the image, but I could always just do a filter mask again and paint it in to that sky. And in fact, here's something cool you can do. You can go over here. Remember I painted structure in? No, you know what? That would be backwards. So here's what I was gonna do. Yeah, I can do this. Hang on. Talking to myself here. Hope you don't mind. So I'm gonna go into the brush and I'm gonna go to the mask and I'm gonna say copy. I'm going to say done. Now I'm copying the mask, which covers the whole photo from structure. Remember, I'm on structure. Copying the mask covers the whole photo because I erased it from the sky. Now I'm going to go to HSL, and I'm going to go to brush, and I'm going to say paste. All right, now I just pasted that. However, it's in the wrong spot. So I'm going to say invert, and boom, now my mask is the blue mask just covering the sky. So, and I'm done. So what I did is I took the mask from structure, which covered the whole photo except for the sky. I copied it to HSL because I just wanted the inverse. And then when I got it to HSL with the copy and paste command, I just inverted it. Cool little trick. You can easily copy and paste masks, filter masks, if of course the mask is covering the same thing or the exact opposite, which is what this one was. So that's a fun little trick. Okay, saturation and vibrance, a little too saturated, believe it or not, even for me. I'm going to add a little bit of vibrance, take the saturation down, and then here's cross-processing. I just like this. You never know what you're going to get. It's like the Forrest Gump box of chocolates thing. You really don't ever know, or let me rephrase that. I don't really ever know, but I like this Miami one on this image, and I'm going to go to about 25. It's kind of moody, a little bit vintage. Let me show you the before and the after. So I'm kind of riffing now, but there's the before and there's the after of the entire photo. And here's something I don't always do, and I didn't do it here, but it might be something that you want to consider doing, and that is whenever you're using the raw develop filter, you have to do that on the base layer because you can't add it anywhere else. Leave it by itself on the base layer and put all this other stuff on the next layer. I probably should have demonstrated that. It doesn't impact the photo. What it does impact is sometimes you get to a decision point and you might say, all right, I like what I did with the alignment of all the, the lens correction and the transform, but I don't like all this other stuff. So obviously you can come in here and reset these filters or delete them or just adjust them, right? Move the sliders. But sometimes you might just say, screw it, and I want to completely start over. Well, you'd have to delete all these filters individually. If you did them all on a separate layer, you could just delete the layer. The other thing you could do is just reduce the opacity of that layer so that all of these edits of all these extra photos, extra filters after raw develop, the impact would be reduced if you reduce the opacity. Just a couple of ideas for you to play with. Anyway, the bottom line in this video was really about raw develop, aka develop, and mostly about lens correction and transform. Super powerful. You can go from tilted, sort of strange looking to much more realistic looking. And I have used this photo before. In fact, I did a video for Aurora HDR using this same photo in its HDR format to show the lens correction and transform, because personally, it's the best one that I have handy without digging through my library, which takes a while. And it really works well to demonstrate how these tools work. So you've seen the photo before, sorry, but it's a great example. That's how you do it in Luminar. But these filters, the lens correction and transform tools are part of the raw develop filter. So I've had people ask me, where are they? There they is, that's where they are. So check it out. I guess that's it really. One more time, before and after. I think we came a long way. It's a fun edit nonetheless. It's great to straighten verticals, and it's powerful, and it works really well. So that's it, my friends. If you have any questions, let me know. Leave a comment, like the video, share the video with your friends if you would, and don't forget to subscribe. And I'm going to shut up. Thanks for watching. I'll be back real soon with episode 8, and we're going to dive into some more fun stuff. So thanks for watching. I'll see you next time, and adios.